3 months from now, I'd be sitting across from my husband in a courtroom, watching him lie under oath. But that morning, I was just cleaning out the kitchen drawer. It was 9:42 a.m. A quiet Tuesday. The kind of morning where the coffee tastes burnt and the silence feels suspicious. I wasn't looking for anything, just trying to find the warranty for our broken blender. Instead, I found the envelope. Thick, cream-colored, legal-sized. My name wasn't on it. I stared at the return address, Law Offices of Grayson and Bell. My fingers trembled as I slid the papers out. The heading hit me like a slap. Petition for dissolution of marriage. But the names: petitioner, Daniel R. Whitmore. Respondent, Elise M. Whitmore. Elise. Not me. Not his wife. I blinked. Read it again. And again. My husband had filed for divorce. From someone else. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, the papers spread out on the counter like a crime scene. The dates were recent. Filed 2 weeks ago. And the signature, his signature, was unmistakable. I checked the envelope again. It was addressed to our home. Why would he bring this here? I grabbed my phone, opened his contact. My thumb hovered over the call button. No, not yet. Instead, I opened notes and started typing everything I saw. Every date, every name, every detail. Then I took a photo of the papers, just in case. He came home at 6:17 p.m. I watched him walk in like nothing had happened. Kissed me on the cheek. Asked what was for dinner. I said, pasta. He smiled. Smells good. I wanted to throw the plate at him. Instead, I waited. Watched. He was calm. Too calm. After dinner, I asked, did you get any mail today? He paused. Nope. Just junk. Liar. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there listening to his breathing. Slow. Steady. I opened the photo again. Zoomed in on the lawyer's name. Grayson and Bell. I Googled them. They specialized in high-conflict divorces, infidelity, hidden assets, custody battles. I clicked through their site. And then I saw her. Elise M. Whitmore, listed as a recent client in a testimonial. Her photo was there. She looked familiar. The next morning I called the law office. Pretended to be Elise. I need to confirm my appointment, I said. The receptionist didn't hesitate. Sure, Mrs. Whitmore. You're scheduled for Friday at 3 p.m. I hung up. My heart was racing. He was still seeing her. I checked his calendar. Nothing listed. But Friday at 3 p.m.? He always said he had client meetings. I needed proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a GPS tracker on his car. It took me 47 minutes. I watched a YouTube tutorial. Bought the device online. By Thursday night, it was active. Friday came. 2:58 p.m. I watched his location ping. Grayson and Bell Law Offices. I stared at the screen. He's there. Right now. Halfway through the day, I sat in my car outside the office. I saw him walk out. Not alone. She was with him. Elise. They didn't touch. But they talked. And then she handed him something. An envelope. He looked inside. Smiled. Then kissed her on the cheek. I took a photo. And another. And another. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, you know this feeling. And if you're here right now, I see you. Drop a broken heart below. That night, I confronted him. I found something, I said. He froze. What do you mean? I slid the envelope across the table. "The divorce papers," I whispered.
He stared at them, didn't speak, didn't blink.
Then he said the one thing I never expected. "That's not what you think." I laughed. "Really? Because it looks like you're divorcing someone who isn't me." He leaned forward. "Elise is complicated." I stood up. "So am I." But what I found in his briefcase the next morning made everything worse. It was 6:03 a.m. when I opened his briefcase. He was still asleep upstairs. I had exactly 17 minutes before his alarm went off. The lock was flimsy. I'd watched him open it 100 times. Inside, contracts, receipts, a half-used notepad, and tucked beneath a folder labeled Q3 Strategy, another envelope. Same law firm.
Different address.
1127 Marlowe Street. Not downtown. Not near his office. A residential neighborhood. I typed it into maps. It was 14 minutes from our house. I didn't wait. By 6:22 a.m., I was in my car.
No muck-up.
No plan. Just adrenaline. The street was quiet.
Tree-lined.
Upper middle class. I parked 2 houses down.
Watched.
1127 was a pale blue colonial. White shutters. A swing on the porch. And then the door opened. She stepped out.
Elise.
Wearing his sweatshirt. I ducked. My heart was pounding. She walked to the mailbox, pulled out a stack of letters and paused. Looked around. Then she smiled at someone inside. A man appeared behind her.
Tall.
Dark hair. Not my husband. I blinked.
Who the hell is that?
She kissed him. Not a polite kiss. A "we're married" kiss. I drove away.
Confused.
Furious. If she was married, why was my husband divorcing her? Back home, I waited for him to come downstairs.
He did.
Smiling. "Morning," he said. I nodded. "Sleep well?" Like a rock. Liar. I needed more. So I did what I swore I'd never do. I called my cousin Jenna. She worked in real estate, had access to property records. "Can you look up an address for me?" I asked. She didn't ask why. Just said, "Text it to me." 10 minutes later, she called back. 1127 Marlowe, owned by Elise Whitmore and, get this, Daniel Whitmore. I froze. Daniel? Yeah. Weird coincidence, huh? Not a coincidence. My husband had a second life. I checked the divorce papers again. Filed by Daniel R. Whitmore. Respondent, Elise M. Whitmore. They were married. Legally. While he was married to me. That night, I waited until he was in the shower. Open his laptop. Password. Our anniversary.
Disgusting.
I searched his email. Found a folder labeled Marlowe.
Inside. Lease agreements.
Vacation photos. A birthday video of Elise blowing out candles. And one email thread that made me sick. Subject. Finalizing the split. Keep it quiet. From Daniel.
To Elise.
I'll handle the paperwork. She doesn't suspect anything. Let's keep Marlowe off the radar. I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking. He was divorcing Elise to protect me from finding out? Or worse, he was planning to leave me next. I copied everything. Screenshots. PDFs. Saved them to a hidden folder on my phone. The next morning, I asked him casually, "Ever heard of Marlowe Street?" He didn't flinch. Nope. Why? Just passed it on my way to Jenna's. He nodded. Nice area. Liar. I needed to confront Elise. But not yet. First, I had to know what she knew. I created a fake Facebook profile,
Sent her a friend request.
she accepted within minutes. Her timeline was filled with photos. Her and Daniel. Vacations. Dinners. One post from 3 months ago. Happy 5 years to the love of my life. 5 years. While I was married to him for 7. I messaged her.
Elisa.
I think we might know the same Daniel. Mind if I ask you something? She replied instantly.
Sure.
Who are you? I typed. I'm his wife.
She didn't respond.
For 47 minutes. Then, you're lying. I sent her a photo. Our wedding day. Me in white. Him in a tux. Her silence lasted another hour. Then she wrote, I didn't know. I swear. I didn't believe her, but I needed her to talk. So I said, meet me. Tomorrow. 4 p.m. Café Luna. She agreed. But what she brought to that meeting wasn't just a confession. It was evidence.
And it changed everything.
The cafe was half empty when Elise walked in. It was 3:58 p.m. She was early. I was already seated, phone recording, tucked beneath my scarf. She looked nervous.
No muck-up.
Hair pulled back. She scanned the room, spotted me, and walked over slowly. Are you? I nodded. Daniel's wife. She sat down. Didn't speak for a full minute. Then, I didn't know. I swear.
I leaned in.
How long have you been married? She hesitated. 5 years. I blinked. He married me 7 years ago. Her eyes widened. I thought he was divorced. He said it was finalized years ago. I pulled out the divorce papers. Then why is he filing now? She stared. I didn't know about this. I slid my phone closer. Tell me everything.
She did.
How they met at a conference. How he said he was single. How they eloped in Vegas. How he bought her the house on Marlowe Street. He travels a lot, she said. Always said he had clients in different states. I asked, did you ever meet his lawyer? She nodded.
Once.
At the office. Grayson, I think. That night I called the law firm. Pretended to be a potential client. Asked for a consultation with Grayson. They scheduled me for Monday. I showed up in a blazer. Hair tied back. Voice steady. Grayson was older.
Polished.
He welcomed me in. Tell me what's going on, he said. I started vague. My husband's been acting strange. I think he's hiding something. Grayson nodded. We see that a lot. Then I said, his name's Daniel Whitmore.
He paused. Yes.
I believe we've worked with him. I leaned forward. On what exactly? He hesitated, then said, well, I can't disclose specifics, but let's just say he's been navigating a complex situation. I pressed. Is it true he's divorcing someone named Elise? Grayson blinked. I shouldn't say. I smiled. Because he's still married to me? Silence. Then he said something he shouldn't have. I assumed that was resolved years ago. I had it. A slip. Confirmation. And my phone had recorded every word. Back home, I played the audio.
Clear. Crisp.
Grayson's voice. I assumed that was resolved years ago. I sent it to Elise. She replied, I'm done protecting him. I have something you need to see. We met again. This time, she brought a folder.
Inside.
Photos of Daniel with another woman. Receipts for hotel stays. a copy of a prenup, and one document that made my stomach drop. A life insurance policy. Beneficiary, Elise Whitmore. Amount, $2.5 million.
I stared at it.
Did he tell you about this? She shook her head. I found it last week, hidden in his drawer. I asked, when was it signed? She flipped the page. Date, June 14th. My birthday. That night, I confronted him again. I met Elise, I said. He froze. She showed me the insurance policy.
He didn't speak.
Just stared. Then, she wasn't supposed to show you that. I whispered, why would you insure your life for her? He said, it's complicated. I snapped, try me. He walked away, locked himself in his office. I followed, pressed my ear to the door. Silence. Then a whisper. He was on the phone. I couldn't hear everything, just fragments. She knows now. Grayson slipped. We need to move fast. I recorded it, every word, and the next morning I sent it to my lawyer. But what my lawyer uncovered wasn't just fraud. It was criminal. It was 11:47 p.m. when my lawyer called. I was sitting in the dark, replaying Grayson's voice on loop. I assumed that was resolved years ago. That slip had opened a door I couldn't close. Are you alone? My lawyer asked. Yes. Then listen carefully. What I found, it's not just adultery. It's fraud. And possibly identity theft.
I didn't speak. Couldn't.
My throat felt tight. He continued. There's a second marriage license. Filed in Nevada. Under your husband's name. But the signature? It doesn't match his legal one. I blinked. What does that mean? It means someone forged it. Or Daniel's using an alias. I whispered. Elise. She's listed as the spouse. But there's more. The witness signature? It's someone named Marla Whitmore. I froze. Marla. I hadn't heard that name in years. She was my husband's cousin. Estranged. Last I knew, she'd moved to Arizona after family fallout. I asked, can you send me the document? He did. I opened it. And there she was. Marla Whitmore, witness. Elise M. Whitmore, spouse. Daniel R. Whitmore, groom. But the photo attached wasn't Elise. I zoomed in. The woman in the photo had dark hair, sharp cheekbones, a scar above her left eyebrow. I'd seen that face before. Not in person. In a photo album, buried in our attic. I ran upstairs, pulled down the old box labeled Family Daniel, flipped through pages, and then I found it. A photo from 1998. Daniel, younger, standing next to a girl with a scar above her brow. Marla. I stared. The woman in the marriage license photo wasn't Elise. It was Marla. I called my lawyer back. That's not Elise. That's Marla.
He paused.
Then who's Elise? I whispered. I don't know anymore. The next morning, I confronted Daniel. Held up the photo. This is Marla, not Elise. He didn't deny it. Just said, you weren't supposed to see that. I asked, why is she pretending to be Elise? He said, because Elise doesn't exist. I blinked. What? He leaned in. Elise is a name, a role. Marla needed protection. I gave her that. I whispered, protection from what? He didn't answer, just walked away. I called Jenna, asked her to dig deeper. She called back an hour later. Hamza. Marla Whitmore died in 2017. I dropped the phone. I checked the Facebook profile, the one Elise had used. Photos,
Posts.
comments, all recent, all active. I messaged her. Who are you really? No reply. That night, I drove back to Marlowe Street, parked across the street, watched the house. At 9:14 p.m., she stepped outside. Same face, same scar. I got out, walked toward her.
She saw me. Didn't flinch.
I said, "You're not Elise." She smiled.
No.
"I'm not." I asked, "Then who are you?" She whispered, "I'm the reason Daniel's still alive." But what she told me next wasn't just a confession. It was a warning. It was 2:17 a.m. when my phone lit up. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was shaking. "It's me," she whispered. I froze. Marla, the cousin who was supposed to be dead. The woman pretending to be Elise. The woman my husband swore didn't exist. She was crying. "I didn't mean for you to find out this way," I whispered. "Then tell me the truth." Silence. Then, "He's not who you think he is." My chest tightened. "I know about the bank account, the offshore transfers, the insurance policy."
She sobbed.
"You don't know why." I pressed. "Why, Marla? Why all of this?" She whispered, "Because he's being hunted, and I'm the only one keeping him alive." I blinked. "Hunted by who?" She didn't answer, just cried harder. The line went dead. I sat there, staring at the phone. My husband was asleep upstairs, breathing steady, like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. The next morning, I confronted him. "She called me," I said. He froze. "Who?" "Marla." His face went pale. "You shouldn't have answered." I whispered, "Why not?" He said, "Because now you're part of it." I demanded answers. "What is she talking about? Who's hunting you?" He didn't speak, just walked to his office, locked the door. I pressed my ear against it. Silence. Then a whisper. "She knows now. We have to move faster." I recorded it. Every word. Sent it to my lawyer. He called back within the hour. "This isn't just fraud anymore. It's organized crime." My stomach dropped. Organized crime? Yes. Offshore accounts. Fake identities. Insurance scams. This is bigger than him. Bigger than Marla. That night, I searched his briefcase again. Found a flash drive. Plugged it into my laptop. Files. Dozens of them. Emails. Contracts. Photos. One photo stopped me cold. A man. Standing next to Marla. Smiling. And holding my daughter's hand. I couldn't breathe. My daughter. With him. With them. I zoomed in. The timestamp. Last month. While I thought she was at school. I confronted him again. "Why is she with him?" He didn't deny it. "She needed protection." I whispered. "From what?" He said, "From me." My world shattered. My husband. My cousin. My daughter. All tangled in a web I couldn't untangle. But what the detective showed me the next morning was worse than betrayal. It was proof. And it made my blood run cold. 3 days after Marla's midnight call, I couldn't shake the sound of her voice. Broken. Trembling. "I'm the reason Daniel's still alive." Those words haunted me. I didn't know if she was protecting him or warning me. It was Saturday morning when I decided to break into his safe. The one he kept hidden behind the bookshelf in his office. I'd seen him open it once, years ago, when he pulled out our passports before a trip. Back then, I thought it was just for documents. Now I knew better. I waited until he left for a client meeting. At 10:14 a.m., the house was silent. I pushed the shelf aside, revealing the steel door. Combination lock. I tried our anniversary.
No luck.
I tried our daughter's birthday. Still nothing. Then I remembered something. The offshore account statement. The date stamped at the top. June 14th. My birthday. I spun the dial. 614. The lock clicked. Inside, I found stacks of cash. Bundles wrapped in rubber bands. At least $200,000. But that wasn't what stopped me cold. There were folders, photos, documents, and one envelope marked confidential. I opened it. Inside was a birth certificate. Not mine. Not my daughter's. Someone else's. Elise Marlowe Whitmore. Date of birth, 1989. Mother, Marlowe Whitmore. Father, Daniel R. Whitmore. My stomach dropped. Elise wasn't a stranger. She wasn't just a fake identity. She was his daughter. I sat there, shaking, staring at the paper. My husband had a secret child. With his cousin. I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
The room spun. I flipped through the rest of the folder. Photos of Elise growing up. School records. Medical files. All hidden from me. And then I saw it. A letter. Handwritten. From Marla. Daniel, if she ever finds out, tell her the truth. Elise isn't just ours. She's hers too. I dropped the paper. My hands were trembling. What did that mean? She's hers too? I dug deeper. Another envelope. This one with my sister's name on it. Rebecca.
Inside. Emails.
Printed out. Correspondence between Daniel and Rebecca.
Talking about me.
About keeping me in the dark. About protecting the inheritance. One line made my blood run cold. She'll never know Elise is her daughter. I couldn't breathe. My sister, my husband, my cousin, all tied together. And me,
The fool.
the outsider, the one they lied to. I stumbled back, clutching the papers. My daughter wasn't mine. Or maybe she was. I didn't know anymore. At 2:17 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. A photo.
Elise.
Standing outside my daughter's school. Smiling. Caption. She knows now. I panicked. Called the detective my lawyer had recommended. Met him that evening in a diner. His name was Carter. Sharp eyes. Quiet voice. I handed him the folder. The birth certificate. The emails. The photo. He studied them carefully. Then said, "This isn't just family drama. This is conspiracy." I whispered, "What do you mean?" He leaned in. "Your husband's been living 2 lives. Maybe 3. The offshore accounts, the insurance policy, the fake identities, it's all connected. And if Elise is his daughter, that means he's been hiding her for decades." I asked, "Why?" Carter said, "Because she's leverage. And leverage means money." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence. Every sound felt dangerous. Every shadow felt alive. At 3:04 a.m., I heard footsteps.
Slow.
Deliberate. Not Daniel's. Too light. Too careful. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera, peeked through the crack in the door. A figure moved down the hallway. Female. Hair pulled back. Scar above her brow. Marla. She stopped outside my daughter's room. Turned the knob. I froze. My heart was racing. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. She slipped inside. Closed the door. Silence. I waited. Listened. For exactly 47 minutes, I sat there, paralyzed. Then the door opened again. She walked out, carrying something. A photo frame.
She saw me.
Smiled. Whispered, "She's safer with me." Then left. The next morning, Daniel acted like nothing had happened. Made coffee. Read the paper. Smiled at me. I wanted to throw the mug at him. Instead, I said, "Marla was here." He froze.
Didn't speak. Didn't blink.
Then whispered, "She's not the enemy." I snapped. "Then who is?" He said, "The one who sent you that photo." I pulled out my phone, showed him the message. He stared, then whispered, "That wasn't Marla. That was Rebecca. My sister." I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
Everything was collapsing. My husband, my cousin, my sister, my daughter, all tangled in lies, all hiding something from me. I went back to the safe, searched again, found one last folder, marked with my name. Inside, a contract, signed by Daniel, signed by Rebecca, signed by Marla. It was dated 7 years ago, the year I married him. The contract stated, custody arrangement, financial protection, inheritance division, and one line that shattered me completely. She will never know the truth until it's too late. I dropped the papers. My hands were shaking. My world was gone. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. That night, Carter called. I traced the offshore account. It's not just Daniel's. It's joint with Rebecca. I whispered, "My sister?"
Yes.
And the beneficiary is Elise. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Everything was collapsing. My husband, my cousin, my sister, my daughter, all tied together, all hiding the truth. But what Carter showed me next was worse than betrayal. It was proof. Proof that they weren't just lying. They were planning something. And I was the target. It was 9:31 a.m. when Carter called. His voice was steady, but I could hear the weight behind it. "I need you to come to the station. Now." I drove in silence. Every streetlight felt like an omen. Every passing car felt like it was watching me. When I arrived, Carter slid a folder across the table. "This is what we found," he said. I opened it, and my world collapsed. Inside were surveillance photos. Grainy, black and white, but clear enough to see faces. Daniel, Rebecca, Marla, together. Not just once. Dozens of times. Hotels, restaurants, even my daughter's school. I whispered, "Why would they all be together?" Carter leaned in. "Because they're not just family. They're partners." I blinked. "Partners in what?" He said, "Fraud, extortion, possibly worse." He flipped to the next page. Bank records. Transfers from Daniel's offshore account, straight into Rebecca's name, and then into Marla's. I felt sick. My sister, my cousin, my husband, all tied together, all betraying me. Carter said, "We also found something else."
He pulled out a USB drive,
Plugged it into the computer, clicked play. A video appeared. Security footage. Timestamp. Last month. Location. My daughter's school. Daniel was there, talking to Rebecca, handing her an envelope. She opened it, counted cash, then hugged him. I couldn't breathe. Why would he give her money? Carter said, because she's been helping him, covering for him, and keeping you distracted. I whispered, distracted from what?
He paused,
Then said, from Elise. He pulled out another photo.
Elise.
Standing outside a motel, with my daughter, holding her hand, smiling. I froze. My daughter. With Elise. With them. Carter said, we believe Elise is being groomed to replace you. My chest tightened. I whispered, replace me? He nodded. Financially, emotionally, legally. They're building a case to declare you unfit. And when that happens, everything you own, your house, your accounts, your inheritance, goes to them. I shook my head.
No.
That's impossible. He slid another paper across the table. A petition. Filed in court. Request for guardianship transfer. Petitioner, Rebecca Whitmore. Respondent, me. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. My own sister was trying to take my daughter. I whispered, why? Carter said, because she believes Elise is the rightful heir, and Daniel's been feeding her lies. I stumbled out of the station. The world felt unreal. Cars honking, people laughing, life going on, while mine was collapsing. At 6:12 p.m., I confronted Daniel, held up the petition. What is this? He didn't flinch, didn't blink, just said, it's for the best. I snapped. The best for who? He whispered, for Elise. I screamed, for Elise? She's not even real. He shook his head. She's more real than you'll ever know. I froze. What does that mean? He leaned in. She's your blood, not mine. My world shattered. Elise, the girl I thought was his secret daughter, was mine. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Everything was collapsing. My husband, my sister, my cousin, my daughter, all tied together, all hiding the truth. That night, Carter called again. We found one last piece of evidence, he said. What is it? He paused, then whispered. A recording of Rebecca confessing. I waited, listened. The audio played. Rebecca's voice. Cold. Calculated. She'll never know. Not until it's too late. Elise is hers. And when she breaks, we'll take everything. I dropped the phone. My hands were shaking. My world was gone. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. But what I found in Rebecca's journal the next morning was worse than betrayal. It was a plan, and it made my blood run cold. I didn't know it then, but that night would be the moment everything I thought I understood about my family collapsed into something darker, something I couldn't escape, something that would haunt me forever. It started with a simple ping on my phone, the GPS tracker I had hidden in Daniel's car lighting up at 10:43 p.m., showing him parked not at home, not at the office, but at a motel on the edge of town. My chest tightened, my breath shallow, because I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I grabbed my keys, slipped on a coat, and drove into the night, headlights cutting through the silence, every mile heavier than the last. When I pulled into the lot, I saw his car immediately, tucked into the corner like it was hiding, and then I saw her. Elise. Standing outside one of the rooms, her hair pulled back, her posture tense, and beside her, my daughter. My knees nearly buckled. My daughter, holding Elise's hand, looking up at her like she trusted her, like she belonged there. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. I just watched, frozen, as Elise guided her inside. I parked 2 spaces away, heart pounding so loud I thought it might give me away. I crept closer, every step deliberate, every sound amplified, the crunch of gravel under my shoes, the hum of a neon sign flickering above the office, the faint buzz of a vending machine. I pressed my ear against the door. Inside, voices. Daniel's low, steady tone.
Élisée Charpé, urgent whisper.
And then my daughter's laugh. A laugh that should have been safe in our home, not echoing inside a motel room with strangers. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and held it against the door. Daniel said, "She doesn't suspect yet." Elise replied, "She will. She's too close." My daughter asked, "Why are we here?"
Silence.
Then Daniel's voice, softer, almost rehearsed, "Because this is where the truth lives." I felt my stomach twist. The truth? What truth? I pressed harder against the door, desperate to hear more. Elise whispered, "We can't keep hiding. She'll find out everything. About Marla, about Rebecca, about Elise." My daughter's voice cut in, innocent, fragile. "Who's Elise?" Daniel answered, "You are." My world shattered in that instant. My daughter wasn't just my daughter. She was Elise. The name wasn't a stranger, wasn't a lie, it was her. They had been calling her Elise behind my back, building a second identity, a second life, right under my nose. I stumbled back, my vision blurring, my chest tight, my hands trembling so violently I nearly dropped my phone. I wanted to burst in, to scream, to drag her out, but something stopped me.
Fear.
Not just fear of Daniel, but fear of the truth itself. If I opened that door, I might hear something I couldn't survive. So I waited. I listened. For exactly 47 minutes, I stood there, recording every word, every whisper, every betrayal. Daniel said, "She'll never know. Not until it's too late." Elise replied, "She already suspects. Carter's involved. We need to move faster." My daughter's voice again, soft, curious. "What are you talking about?" Silence. Then Marla's voice. My blood ran cold. She was inside too. "We're talking about survival," she said. 3 of them. My husband, my cousin, my daughter, all in one room. And me, outside, shaking, breaking, unraveling. At 11:30 p.m., the door opened. Elise stepped out first, scanning the lot. I ducked behind a car, holding my breath. Daniel followed, briefcase in hand, face calm, like nothing was wrong. Then Marla. And finally, my daughter, clutching a stuffed animal I hadn't seen in years. They walked together, a unit, a family that didn't include me. I wanted to scream her name, to run to her, to pull her away, but my legs wouldn't move. My voice wouldn't work. I just watched as they climbed into Daniel's car and drove away, taillights disappearing into the night. I sat there, alone in the dark, replaying the recording, every word slicing deeper. She'll never know. Not until it's too late. You are Elise. We're talking about survival. I drove home in silence, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me, the taste of iron in my mouth, my hands gripping the wheel so tight they ached. When I walked inside, the house felt foreign, hostile, like it belonged to someone else. I collapsed onto the couch, phone still in my hand, recording still playing, proof of everything I feared. At 2:17 a.m., Carter called. "We've analyzed the audio," he said. "It's worse than we thought." I whispered, "Tell me." He paused, then said, "They're building a case. Not just to take your daughter. To erase you. Legally. Financially. Entirely." I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. My world was gone. My family wasn't mine. My daughter wasn't mine. My life wasn't mine. And then Carter said the words that made my blood run cold. "They've already filed the paperwork. Guardianship transfer. Identity change. Everything. If we don't stop them now, you'll lose her forever." I dropped the phone. My hands were shaking. My chest was tight. My vision blurred. I whispered to myself, "She's mine. She's mine." But the recording played again, Daniel's voice echoing in the dark. "You are Elise." That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just betrayed. I was being erased. The courtroom was silent when the verdict came down.
Guilty.
Daniel was sentenced to 12 years. Rebecca walked free on a technicality. Marla disappeared before trial. And Elise, my daughter, was placed back in my custody. That was 3 years ago. Since then, I moved to a different city, changed my number, started over. Some days I don't think about it at all. Other days, it's all I think about. I learned something that year. Blood doesn't always mean family. And family doesn't always mean safety. But just when I thought it was over, just when I thought I had survived the worst betrayal of my life, the past found me again. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when the mail arrived. Bills. Flyers.
Junk.
And then an envelope. Cream-colored.
Legal-sized.
No return address. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No words. Just a photo.
Elise.
Older now. Standing outside a house I didn't recognize. Smiling. And in the corner of the photo, scrawled in handwriting I knew too well, "She knows." I dropped the paper. My chest tightened. My vision blurred. The silence in the room felt suffocating. I whispered to myself, "It's starting again." Because some doors, once you close them, should never be opened again.
Beat.
Even if someone's knocking.